Agile Scrum Master. Agile is a project management methodology mostly used in product development. The project is executed in small iterations known as sprints, which helps in the frequent reassessment and adoption of products and plans. The Agile way is combination of incremental and iterative approach. Incremental, software/works are delivered in small chunks. Iterative, feedbacks are taken into consideration before moving ahead. 12 Agile Principles. Early value delivery. Highest priority is given to early and continuous delivery of the software. Change for good. Changing requirements are welcomed if they are competitive for the customer. Weeks, not months. Deliver working software frequently, from a couple of weeks to a couple of months, with a preference to the shorter timescale. Partner with business. Business owners and developers must work together daily throughout the project. Motivation and trust. Keep the motivation of the team high as the project are delivered in a very short time. A small demotivation of few hours can have significant impact on the project. Direct and open communication. The most effective and efficient method of communication is face-to-face. If the team is distributed, using a daily war room to discuss challenges and their solutions. Show and tell. Deploy the small sprints of the working software as the primary measure of success. Keep it steady. Agile process promotes sustainable development through maintaining constant pace among the sponsors, developers, and users. Never compromise quality. Focus continuously on technical excellence and design to enhance agility. Keep IT simplicity. Simple solutions to problems may help in avoiding unnecessary troubles. Empower the team. The self-emerging team can deliver the best architecture, requirements, and designs. Continuous improvement. Focus on to be more productive or effective through continuous improvement process. Agile project management. Agile project management stages are described by Gene Highsmith in his book Agile Project Management. It consists of many phases like product vision. Product owner visualizes the product with stakeholders. Project scope. Project requirements are in the form of backlog items. Project team. Aims to get the right people with required skill sets and expertise. Project approach. Processes and techniques are defined according to project requirements. Phase 2, speculate. Epic. Project initially contains high-level items called epics. Features. Epics are broken down into features. Release plan. A plan of how the team intends to achieve the vision, and it consists of multiple iterations, and each iteration includes a project increment. Phase 3, explore. Iterative approach for development. Sprint. Each iteration starts with sprint planning. At the end of each sprint, a product increment is delivered. The architecture and design evolves during each iteration. Phase 4, adapt. Project is tested and validated frequently. Project progress is assessed. The team looks at the areas of improvement during the retrospective. Phase 5, close. The completed project is transitioned to business. Agile team documents and delivers the lessons learned during the project. Benefits of agility. Why Agile? High productivity and lower cost, due to less waste of time and less rework due to small sprints, tests, and validations. Improved stakeholder satisfaction due to the option to adopt changes in product as per business requirement. High quality product through evolving designs and alignment with business requirement changes. Faster time to market through incremental delivery model. Improved employee engagement and job satisfaction due to sustainable pace, will enjoy high degree of autonomy. Overview of Scrum. Scrum is the most popular Agile method created by Jeff Sutherland and Ken Schwaber. The basics of Scrum can be found at www.scrumguides.org. There are three main pillars of Scrum: transparency. Information or communication between the team should be open and transparent. Inspection. Products and processes are subjected to frequent reviews to ensure that the project is moving in the right direction. Adaptation. One of the most important pillars to adapt to the changes which are necessary for the product and are requirement of the product. The 5 values of Scrum. The 5 values of the Scrum help in the decision making, and they are abbreviated as FORC. Commitment. The team ensures that they are committed to the work to be delivered. Focus. Due to the small sprints, the work remains interesting, which keeps teams focused and which results in productivity. Openness. Similar to the first pillar of transparency, where the team is open and transparent in their communications to avoid and identify gaps, if any. Respect. Showing respect to individuals or their roles in the team helps in team bonding, due to which higher productivity can be achieved. Courage. The team should be ready to step out of their comfort zone at the times required to achieve business needs. Scrum process. The Scrum process starts with product backlog, collection of work items. Sprints. The work is organized in a time box ranging from 1 to 4 weeks. Sprint planning. The team will decide about how much work the team can deliver. Sprint backlog. The identified works or the sprints to be delivered become sprint backlog. Sprint review. Team will showcase the progress of work. Sprint retrospective meeting. The internal team will meet daily and will also discuss feasible solutions to the problems they face during the development process as part of sprint retrospective. Agile journey. The Agile Framework method, which is used for managing large-scale changes, is called ADAPT. A. Awareness. It's process to know what is not working in the project. D. Desire. Willing to use Scrum to resolve problems. A. Ability. Develop ability to use Scrum. P. Promotion. Early success shall be processed across the organization. T. Transfer. Once successful, transfer the culture of Scrum across the organization. Scrum success measurement. Below questions shall be asked and try to find answers to them. This will help you measure the success of Scrum process in your organization. What is the criteria to declare the Scrum in your organization as success? What is the thing we are trying to improve? Is there any baseline available to measure the success? Did you observe any improvement due to Scrum? Is Scrum helping to develop better products? Did Scrum have improved the quality of product? Are we able to deliver the business value faster? Balanced scorecard for Scrum. The balanced score provides an holistic set of measures to assess the success of Scrum. The metrics of the scorecards include: future orientation, ensures the sustainability of Scrum process and ability to constantly get better. Constantly get better. Employees' satisfaction. Scrum understanding. Business values. Business values, cost savings, revenues. Features per release, user visible features. Operational excellence. Predictability, projects in expected sprints. Productivity, how much is delivered. Quality, internal and external. Customer orientation. Uptime, product performance. Customer satisfaction, NPS, Net Promoter Score, or customer surveys. Scrum roles, events, and artifacts. There are majorly 3 types of Scrum roles: Scrum Master, Servant Leader, Facilitator of the development team, Process Coach, Obstruction Remover, Sprint Planning Meeting. Daily stand-up. Ensures that team work together to achieve the expected results. Keeps track of issues and targets for their closure. Escalates to a higher level when the problem cannot be solved. What Scrum Master should not do. The Scrum Master must not be a figure of authority or the line manager of the team. If there is a reporting relationship between the team member and the Scrum Master, there can be natural asymmetry of power which prevents the effectiveness of the Scrum Master, and there will be a hesitation from team members for reaching out for the help. The Scrum Master should also not be the taskmaster for the team, including micromanage, ask for daily status, assign task, chase people. Scrum Master and Scrum Team should build a trusting, friendly relationship. Scrum Master skills, attributes, and attitudes. Scrum Master shall be expert in Scrum with an understanding of the technical environment. The Scrum Master shall be influential within the team or with any authority. He should be patient and should be ready to help the team. Should be collaborative in nature. Product Owner provides vision and direction to the team, prioritizes the requirements for the team, creates product backlog and created in line with product vision, sets expectations with the stakeholders for the delivery milestones and roadmap for the product, also defines the success criteria. Product owner skills, attributes, and attitudes should be available to provide directions to the team about the product. The product owner must be business savvy and have deep understanding of the business and domain of the product which has been targeted to be developed. Must be excellent communicator and good listener. Product owners must be able to make decisions about the product. Requirements, direction, priorities, and roadmaps. A product owner must be empowered to make decisions about the product and be accountable for the same. What product owners should avoid? Ineffective delegations in decision-making results in confusion among teams. Demanding product owner can ask for unrealistic timeline may result in the unsustainable pace in team may feel exhausted, leading to less productivity. Product owners should not compromise with the quality of product to meet the aggressive timeline, which can lead to product failures, and the team will spend more time in solving the problems. How busy is the product owner and Scrum Master? As the time passes, the product owner will become busier and Scrum Master will get less busy. Scrum Master, as the team settles down and the product matures, the team needs less guidance on the process. Product owner, as the product matures, it will be having more customer base, and which will eventually lead to more requirements or queries from the customer. Development comprises of various team members and develops the sprints decided by the product owner. Agile team characteristics. Agile teams generally will have these characteristics. Small, the Scrum team will be small and can have up to 10 developers, and in case of bigger project, multiple Scrum teams shall be deployed. Cross-functional, the Scrum teams are cross-functional, have diverse skill sets, and should be self-sufficient to deliver complete product increment. Self-organizing, Scrum teams are expected to be self-organizing and do not need to be micromanaged, and self-assigns the tasks and take technical decision. Forming Scrum team. Get the right level of people to accommodate technical and domain expert. Focus on continuity as fractional assignment of team to multiple projects, as it may take much time for team to reassemble the project ingredients again. Component versus feature team. Component team consists of the resources who have the technical specialty required for a component of product. Generally avoided in the Scrum team. More risk of missing schedule. Prevents sharing of specialist. Feature team consists of team who has the technically specialty required for the specialty of the product. Recommended to have in the Scrum team. Better equipped to evaluate the impact of design. Less wastage due to multiple handoffs. Scrum team roles. Project manager and Scrum Masters anchors the servant leadership. Product managers and product owners follows the roadmap and focuses more on what of the product. Architect and developer works on the product backlogs and helps in creating user stories. Managers in Scrum. The managers in Scrum will see the evolution of their role, and they must be adaptable and welcoming to changes. Fine in Scrum. Help remove blocks which team is not able to remove by themselves. Provide input and advice to the team on technical difficulties. Do regular 1:1 meeting with team members and provide coaching. Give inputs to make the features better. Stay updated of the development and tools and technologies team is using. Plan training and other skills development for team members. Stay up to date on industry news and developments. Anticipate tools, skills, and future needs. Plan and manage budget. Give input on what features and functionalities team should build. Do perform evaluations and provide feedback to team members. Do career development and career planning with the team. Recruit, interview, and hire team members. Remove team members who are not able to perform well within the team. Conflict in Scrum. Decide what works need to be done. Assign work to team members. Keep track of what members are doing. Make sure that the team gets the work done. Make commitment to management about how much team can do work by certain date. Be responsible for the team meeting the commitments made to the management. Do a weekly status update report for the management. Do weekly team staff meeting. Sprints. Every Scrum project operates with sprint framework. Sprints are time-boxed from 1 to 4 weeks. There are several factors which needs to be considered while deciding about the sprint duration. Stability of backlog. The stability of backlog is an important factor. If the backlog is dynamic and is subject to frequent changes, in such cases it's recommended to have shorter sprints. This allows the team to adapt to evolving requirements. Cost of iteration. The cost of the sprint may be higher due to time consumed in planning, retrospection, and demo. Since these activities tends to be resource intensive and time consuming for such scenarios, the sprint's duration should be kept longer. Stakeholder engagement. Sometimes stakeholders prefer to give regular feedback or wants to have frequent demo of the product. In such scenarios, the duration of the sprint should be kept longer to accommodate the feedback and associated changes. The sprint duration estimations shall be done with utmost care, considering the dynamics of the specific project, capacity of team, and should be aligned to the goal of both development and stakeholders. The ultimate goal of each sprint shall be that whenever the sprint is completed, it should be releasable as an incremental product. In Agile project management, deciding on the duration of sprint is a crucial aspect. There is no one fit-to-all mechanism or a right or wrong way to decide on the duration of the sprint. This should be discussed with the Scrum team, and based on the amount of time required to complete the sprint shall be fixed. According to the State of Agile survey, most teams prefer 2-week sprints. The Scrum Guide prescribes sprint duration to be between 1 and 4 weeks. It should be based on the time required to accomplish the sprint's goal. A typical 4-week sprint starts with 1 or 2 days of iteration planning and then with the story development, and in the final days of week is used for the demo purpose. Variability in sprint duration. One of the best things about Agile is its adaptability, since each project is unique, so the sprint's duration should be customized as per the project needs. This allows the team to fine-tune the sprint duration basis complexity and goal of project. Understanding a typical 4-week sprint. A typical 4-week sprint, the associated process may look like as below. Iteration planning, 1 to 2 days. The sprint will kick off with 1 or 2 days of iteration planning. During this phase, the team will select the user stories which will be completed during the sprint. Story development, 1 to 3 weeks. During this period, the team actively works to complete the stories they have selected. Demo, final days of 4th week. As the sprints comes near to end, the team should start focusing on the demo of the sprint to the stakeholders. Backlog refinement, an important aspect of Agile planning. The backlog refinement is an integral part of the Agile team's workflow. It is performed as a part of sprint planning. The steps included in the backlog refinement are: Discovering and describing high-level scope defined as backlog, where backlogs can be grouped together and the information about the backlog are documented as user stories, helping team on deciding the roadmap. Prioritizing the backlog are the primary responsibility of the product owner. As per the initial understanding of the backlog, the approximate sizing of the items is done. Getting ready for planning the next sprint. Sprint planning. The sprint planning is the first step in the Scrum process. During this time, the Scrum team discuss and agree on the work which they will be doing in the upcoming sprint. The goal of the sprint planning should be to create a realistic and achievable plan. The planning typically requires following attendees. Product owner. The product owner is responsible for sharing the product vision and backlog, decides on the priority of features to team, and defining the goal of sprint. Development team. The development team is responsible for developing the product. They will estimate the work involved in completing the selected features and create a sprint backlog. Scrum Master. The Scrum Master facilitates the sprint planning meeting and ensures that the team collaborates effectively. The goal of sprint planning is to make an informed commitment about what needs to be delivered and generally follows the below agenda. Review the sprint goal. Select the product backlog items that will be worked on in the sprint. Estimate the work involved in completing each product backlog item. Create a sprint backlog. Review the plan and make any necessary adjustments. Generally, for a sprint of 1 week, the planning should not take more than approximately 1 to 2 hours. For longer sprints, the time for the sprint planning time should be allocated accordingly. The sprint planning attendees should include developers, product owners, and Scrum Masters. Some of the recommended tips for a successful sprint planning are: review the sprint goal and ensure that the team stay focused on the work that needs to be done. Be realistic about the estimates. The team should not overcommit themselves. Be flexible. The plan may need to be adjusted as the sprint progresses. Sprint planning is an important part of the Scrum process. It is a time for the team to come together and agree on what they will work on during the upcoming sprint. By following these tips, you can ensure that your sprint planning meetings are productive and successful. Responsibilities of product managers. The product owner is a key person in the Scrum framework. They are responsible for the product vision and backlog, and they work with the development team to ensure that the product meets the needs of the users. Specifically, the product owner is responsible for the following tasks. Defining the product vision. The product owner is responsible for defining the product vision, which is a high-level description of what the product should do and why it is important. Creating the product backlog. The product owner is responsible for creating the product backlog, which is a list of all the features and requirements for the product. Prioritizing the product backlog. The product owner is responsible for prioritizing the product backlog, so that the most important features are worked on first. Working with the development team. The product owner works with the development team to ensure that the product backlog is understood and that the team is working on the right things. Communicating with stakeholders. The product owner communicates with stakeholders, such as customers, users, and other members of the organization, to ensure that the product meets their needs. The product owner is a critical role in the success of any Scrum project. They are responsible for ensuring that the product meets the needs of the users, and that the development team is working on the right things. Here are some of the qualities that make a good product owner. Strong communication skills. The product owner must be able to communicate effectively with the development team, stakeholders, and other members of the organization. Technical knowledge. The product owner should have a basic understanding of the technology that is being used to develop the product. Business knowledge. The product owner should have a good understanding of the business needs and goals. Ability to prioritize. The product owner must be able to prioritize the product backlog and make decisions about what features are most important. Ability to collaborate. The product owner must be able to collaborate effectively with the development team and other stakeholders. If you are interested in becoming a product owner, there are a few things you can do to prepare. Get experience in the field of software development. Learn about the Scrum Framework. Develop your communication and technical skills. Build relationships with stakeholders. The product owner is a challenging but rewarding role. If you are looking for a career in software development, this is a great place to start. What Scrum Master does. The Scrum Master facilitates the sprint planning meeting and helps the team to determine the workload. There are two approaches that can be used to determine the workload. The velocity-driven approach: if the team has been working together and have knowledge about the amount of work which is to be completed using the past data, the team can predict the rate of the work completion during a specific period of time. Commitment-driven approach: if the team does not have enough data, then the commitment-driven approach should be taken. This is a proactive approach towards addressing the uncertainty and ensuring that the team can still progress effectively. The main steps involved in both the sprint planning methods are: adjust priorities: the team reviews the product backlog and adjusts the priorities of the user stories. Decide on the target velocity: the team discusses what they believe their target velocity is for the upcoming sprint. Identify an iteration goal: the team defines the goal for the sprint. Select the user stories: the team selects the user stories that they believe they can complete in the sprint, based on their target velocity. Split the user stories: the team splits the user stories into tasks, if necessary. Estimate the tasks: the team estimates the time required to complete each task. The Scrum Master should help the team to choose the approach that is best for them. The velocity-driven approach is more accurate, but it requires the team to have a good understanding of their historical velocity. The commitment-driven approach is less accurate, but it can be more effective for teams that are new to Scrum or that are working on complex projects. Here are some of the specific things that a Scrum Master does during sprint planning. Facilitates the meeting and ensures that everyone is involved and contributing. Helps the team to understand the sprint goal and to identify the work that needs to be done. Helps the team to estimate the time required for each task. Creates a schedule for the sprint. Identifies any potential risks or challenges and helps the team to mitigate them. Ensures that the team is committed to the plan. The Scrum Master is a servant leader who helps the team to succeed. They do this by providing guidance, coaching, and support. The Scrum Master is not responsible for doing the work of the team, but they are responsible for creating an environment where the team can do their best work. Common reasons failures in sprint planning. The common failure modes of the sprint planning are too aggressive or too conventional. Teams often overcommit to the amount of work they can do in a sprint. This can lead to burnout and disappointment. Inability to reach agreement: if the team cannot agree on the scope of work for the sprint, it will be difficult to make a plan that everyone is committed to. Not considering known events: teams sometimes forget to factor in known events, such as holidays or team members taking time off, when planning the sprint. Not enough preparation: teams that are not prepared for sprint planning are more likely to make mistakes. This includes not having a clear understanding of the product backlog, the sprint goal, or the team's capabilities. Search for vague certainty: teams may hesitate to make commitments because they are not sure how much work can be done in a sprint. This can lead to delays and missed deadlines. The Scrum Master can help the team to avoid these failures by ensuring that the team has a clear understanding of the sprint goal, helping the team to estimate the amount of work that can be done in a sprint, facilitating discussions so that the team can reach agreement on the scope of work, encouraging the team to be realistic about their capabilities, helping the team to plan for known events. By following these tips, the Scrum Master can help the team to create a successful sprint plan. Here are some additional tips for avoiding common failures in sprint planning. Start by reviewing the product backlog and identifying the most important user stories for the sprint. Estimate the time required to complete each user story. Be realistic about the team and capabilities and don't overcommit. Be flexible and willing to adjust the plan as needed. Communicate the plan to the stakeholders and get their buy-in. By following these tips, you can help to ensure that your sprint planning meetings are productive and successful. Importance of daily stand-up. The daily stand-up, also known as the daily scrum, is a short meeting that is held every day at the same time and place. The purpose of the daily stand-up is to sync with the team and to identify any blockers that may be preventing the team from making progress. The daily stand-up is typically attended by the Scrum Master, developers, product owner. The product owner may choose to attend the meeting, but they should not be a participant in the discussion. The daily stand-up should be time-boxed to 15 minutes or less. The agenda for the daily stand-up should be simple as following. What did I do yesterday? What will I do today? Are there any blockers? Each team member answers these questions in turn. The Scrum Master facilitates the meeting and ensures that everyone stays on track. The daily stand-up is an important part of the Scrum process. It helps the team to stay aligned and to identify any problems early on. However, there are some common challenges that can make the daily stand-up ineffective. The team may feel micromanaged. If the Scrum Master or the product owner is too controlling during the daily stand-up, the team may feel like they are being micromanaged. This can lead to resentment and a loss of trust. Less attendance or delay in attending the meeting. If team members are not consistently attending the daily stand-up, it can be difficult to keep everyone updated on the progress of the project. This can lead to misunderstandings and problems. Off-topic discussion. The daily stand-up should be focused on the work that the team is doing. If the discussion goes off-topic, it can be difficult to get back on track. Ineffective listening. If team members are not listening effectively during the daily stand-up, it can be difficult to identify any problems or blockers. The Scrum Master can help to prevent these challenges by ensuring that the daily stand-up is a collaborative discussion. The Scrum Master should encourage the team to participate in the discussion and to share their ideas. Setting clear expectations for the daily stand-up. The Scrum Master should make sure that everyone understands the purpose of the daily stand-up and what is expected of them. Encouraging team members to attend the daily stand-up on time. The Scrum Master should remind team members of the importance of the daily stand-up and encourage them to attend on time. Keeping the daily stand-up on track. The Scrum Master should be responsible for keeping the daily stand-up on track and preventing off-topic discussion. Encouraging effective listening. The Scrum Master should encourage team members to listen effectively during the daily stand-up and to ask questions if they do not understand something. By following these tips, the Scrum Master can help to ensure that the daily stand-up is a productive and effective meeting. What is sprint review and retrospective? The sprint review and retrospective are two important meetings in the Scrum process. Sprint review. The sprint review is a meeting held at the end of each sprint to review the work that the team has done. The purpose of the sprint review is to get feedback from the product owner and other stakeholders. The sprint review should be a collaborative meeting where everyone can give feedback and suggestions. Sprint retrospective. The sprint retrospective is a meeting held after the sprint review to reflect on the process that the team used to create the product increment. The purpose of the sprint retrospective is to identify any areas where the team can improve. The sprint retrospective should be a blameless meeting where the team can focus on finding solutions to problems. Here are some of the common reasons for sprint review and retrospective failures. Not prepared for the meeting. If the team is not prepared for the meeting, it is unlikely to be productive. The team should make sure that they have reviewed the product increment and that they are prepared to answer questions from the product owner and other stakeholders. Too many or too few external invitees. The sprint review should be attended by the core team, the product owner, and any other stakeholders who are interested in the product. If there are too many people in the meeting, it can be difficult to get everyone's input. If there are too few people in the meeting, it can be difficult to get a good understanding of the product increment. Too much defensiveness. If the team is too defensive during the sprint review, it is unlikely to be productive. The team should be open to feedback and should be willing to make changes. Out-of-scope discussion. The sprint review should be focused on the product increment that the team has created. If the discussion goes off topic, it can be difficult to stay on track. Here are some of the common reasons for sprint retrospective failures. Teams not attending the meeting. If the team does not attend the sprint retrospective, it is unlikely to be productive. The team should make sure that they attend the meeting and that they are prepared to contribute. Low energy team. If the team is not engaged during the sprint retrospective, it is unlikely to be productive. The team should be encouraged to participate and to share their ideas. Blame game. If the team blames each other during the sprint retrospective, it is unlikely to be productive. The team should focus on finding solutions to problems, not assigning blame. External stakeholders' involvement. If external stakeholders are involved in the sprint retrospective, it can be difficult for the team to be open and honest. The team should be encouraged to speak freely without fear of reprisal. Focusing more on the negatives or mistakes. If the team focuses too much on the negatives or mistakes during the sprint retrospective, it can be demoralizing. The team should also focus on the positive aspects of the sprint and on what they can do to improve in the future. By avoiding these common mistakes, you can help to ensure that your sprint review and retrospective meetings are productive and effective. What is the definition of done? The definition of done is a set of criteria that must be met before a product increment is considered to be complete. The definition of done should be agreed upon by the Scrum team and should be specific enough to ensure that the product increment is releasable. The definition of done can vary from team to team and from project to project. However, some common criteria that are often included in the definition of done are: the product increment must be fully implemented. The product increment must be tested to ensure that it meets all the requirements. There must be no high-priority defects in the product increment. The product increment must be documented. The product increment must be releasable to the customer. The definition of done should be specific enough to ensure that the product increment is complete and that it can be released to the customer. However, it should also be flexible enough to allow the team to adapt it to the specific needs of the project. The definition of done is an important part of the Scrum process. It helps to ensure that the team is working towards a common goal and that the product increment is of high quality. By agreeing on a definition of done, the team can focus on creating a product that meets the needs of the customer. Here are some additional tips for creating a definition of done. Make sure that the definition of done is specific enough to ensure that the product increment is complete. Make sure that the definition of done is flexible enough to allow the team to adapt it to the specific needs of the project. Get input from all stakeholders, including the product owner, the development team, and the Scrum Master. Review the definition of done regularly and make changes as needed. By following these tips, you can help to create a definition of done that will help your team to deliver high-quality product increments. What is the definition of ready? The definition of ready is a set of criteria that must be met before a product backlog item is considered to be ready to be worked on. The definition of ready should be agreed upon by the Scrum team and should be specific enough to ensure that the product backlog item can be completed without any major problems. The definition of ready can vary from team to team and from project to project. However, some common criteria that are often included in the definition of ready are: the product backlog item must be well defined and understood by the team. The acceptance criteria for the product backlog item must be clear and measurable. The resources required to complete the product backlog item must be available. Any dependencies on other product backlog items must be resolved. The effort required to complete the product backlog item must be estimated. The definition of ready should be specific enough to ensure that the product backlog item can be completed without any major problems. However, it should also be flexible enough to allow the team to adapt it to the specific needs of the project. The definition of ready is an important part of the Scrum process. It helps to ensure that the team is working on the right things and that they are not wasting time on tasks that are not ready to be worked on. By agreeing on a definition of ready, the team can focus on delivering value to the customer. Here are some additional tips for creating a definition of ready. Make sure that the definition of ready is specific enough to ensure that the product backlog item can be completed without any major problems. Make sure that the definition of ready is flexible enough to allow the team to adapt it to the specific needs of the project. Get input from all stakeholders, including the product owner, the development team, and the Scrum Master. Review the definition of ready regularly and make changes as needed. By following these tips, you can help to create a definition of ready that will help your team to deliver value to the customer. What is the backlog? The product backlog is a list of all the work that needs to be done to create a product. It is owned by the product owner and is typically prioritized based on the value that it will deliver to the customer. The product backlog can be divided into two categories. Features, these are the high-level requirements for the product. Tasks, these are the specific steps that need to be taken to implement a feature. The product backlog is an evolving document that is constantly being updated as new requirements are identified and as the product evolves. The product owner is responsible for keeping the product backlog up to date and for prioritizing the work that needs to be done. The characteristics of a product backlog include as captured by Mike Cohn and Roman Pitcher with acronym DEEP. Detailed appropriately, the level of detail in the product backlog should be appropriate to the current stage of the product development. For example, the product backlog for a new product will need to be more detailed than the product backlog for an existing product that is being maintained. Emergent, the product backlog should be an evolving document that is constantly being updated as new requirements are identified and as the product evolves. Estimated, each item in the product backlog should have an estimate of the effort, size, and time required to complete it. This information can be used to prioritize the work that needs to be done. Prioritized, the items in the product backlog should be prioritized based on their value to the customer and on the urgency of the need. The product backlog is an important tool for managing the development of a product. It helps to ensure that the right work is being done and that the product is being developed in a way that meets the needs of the customer. Here are some additional tips for creating and managing a product backlog. Get input from all stakeholders. The product backlog should be created with input from all stakeholders, including the product owner, the development team, and the customers. This will help to ensure that the product backlog meets the needs of everyone involved. Keep the product backlog up to date. The product backlog should be an evolving document that is constantly being updated as new requirements are identified and as the product evolves. Prioritize the product backlog. The items in the product backlog should be prioritized based on their value to the customer and on the urgency of the need. Communicate the product backlog to the team. The product backlog should be communicated to the development team so that they know what work needs to be done. Review the product backlog regularly. The product backlog should be reviewed regularly to ensure that it is still meeting the needs of the customer and the product. By following these tips, you can create and manage a product backlog that will help you to develop a successful product. Agile estimation, planning, monitoring, and control. In this section, we will focus on the Agile aspect of estimation, planning, monitoring, and controlling. The Scrum Master should be aware of how to perform the requirement management of the Agile projects. User stories. User stories are an important part of Agile development. They are a way of capturing the requirements of the product from the perspective of the user. User stories should be written in a clear and concise way, and they should be estimable, testable, and valuable. The large user stories are captured under the epic, which cannot be completed in a single sprint. The user persona is used to hypothetically capture the context of product from the end user's perspective. To better understand the user's viewpoint and context, we create user personas. Each product typically caters to multiple users with unique characteristics and preferences. Understanding user personas before writing user stories helps in developing a product that aligns with the end user needs. A typical user persona includes name, role, intended goal, usage and preferences, relevant user information. So, how can you write good user stories? In Scrum, the invest model is used to write great user stories. Independent, the PBI should be independent and dissociated as far as possible. N, negotiable, the stories must express the need and there should be room for discussion. V, valuables, the PBI should have value for the product. E, estimable, should be able to estimate each PBI. S, small, keep the PBI small as much as possible to plan/task/prioritize. T, testable, the PBI should include the details of the requirement so that test can be developed. User story format. User stories are typically written as simple sentences structured as follows, as a persona. I want to, so that, they should explain who wants it, the persona, what they want, and why, the value it adds. Additionally, they may include acceptance criteria. Acceptance criteria. The product owner defines acceptance criteria. The template for acceptance criteria outlines how the system should behave under specific conditions. Given some condition and/or some other conditions. When some event and/or some other event occurs. Then, the system should, expected behavior. A single user story may have multiple acceptance criteria. Epics, stories, and features. Epics, stories, and features serve as mechanisms for organizing user stories, an essential practice in Agile development. This is necessary because a product backlog often contains numerous user stories that need logical grouping. An epic is essentially a sizable story that gets divided into smaller stories, all categorized under that epic. It's important to note that epics typically have lower priority compared to individual stories. When it comes to prioritization, epics are usually compared only to other epics. A theme, on the other hand, represents a collection of stories that share a common goal or purpose, providing a higher-level context for organizing related user stories. A user story can be big enough to be delivered under one sprint. In such cases, it is recommended split the user stories in smaller parts. The splitting of stories generally follows the below rules. Operational considerations. Data-related aspects. Research versus implementation phases. Separate non-functional requirements from functional requirements. This approach helps in better sprint planning and more manageable development iterations. Story mapping. Product owners, in collaboration with the development team, utilize a story map as a valuable tool to outline and create a minimally marketable feature, MMF, for the product. The story map typically has a two-dimensional structure. The x-axis is dedicated to representing the MMF of the product, while the y-axis focuses on the team's efforts to build a system that automates workflows related to the MMF. Understanding the business value of project. To gauge the value added by the project, it's crucial to consider 4 primary ways in which the work contributes value. New revenue, this pertains to work that attracts new customers and generates fresh revenue streams for the business. Incremental revenue, this category covers work that increases revenue from existing customers, possibly by offering them additional products or services. Retained revenue, this involves work that retains customers who might otherwise leave, thereby preserving existing revenue streams. Operational efficiency, work that enhances operational efficiency is equally important, as it reduces costs and improves revenue margins for the organization. The user stories are prioritized based on these values of return on investment, ROI. This helps the team to focus its effort towards delivering high-value business products in terms of revenue generation. This approach aligns the efforts of the development team with the goals of the business for revenue generation. Benefits cost analysis. There should be a justified business use case for each feature and release. The business use case should focus on payback period. The payback period is the amount of time taken to recover the amount of investment in the project. Return on investment, ROI, average return per year divided by the investment made in the project. ROI is always represented as the percentage value. Net present value, NPV, sum of the present amount of cash flows in the project. Internal rate of return, IRR, the rate at which the project adds value to the organization. Prioritization of the project backlog. Prioritization in Agile projects is important as the work is done in incremental sprints. In such scenarios, it becomes crucial to identify the sprints that need to be completed first. For prioritization, the value risk matrix is used as the most basic framework. High value, high risk, this should be done first. High value, low risk, should be done next. Low value, low risk, should be done last. Low value, high risk, debate if this should be done at all. Taking up high risk and high value stories first gives some space to recover in case of any adverse impact. If high value and high risk stories are taken up last, then there might be very limited options available to recover in case of any failure or unforeseen issues. Another effective model for prioritization of user stories is the Kano model developed by Professor Noriaki Kano. In this model, stories are classified as mandatory or threshold, linear, and exciters or delighters. Mandatory, these are the basic or essential requirements that must be met for a product to be considered functional or acceptable by users. They are considered must-haves. Linear stories are those that help in gaining more and more customer satisfaction through meeting their expectations. These features show a direct relationship between investment and customer satisfaction. Exciters or delighters, these are features that go beyond the user's basic expectations. When implemented, they have the potential to surprise and delight users. Exciters often lead to an emotional response from users and can differentiate your product in the market. A usual project should focus on implementing all the mandatory features, some of the important linear and few features having potential to delight a customer. The third method of prioritization is the relative weights method, in which the priority can be defined as a function of value, risk, and cost to get the priority score. Value of feature. The value of a feature is determined by assessing the potential impact and the benefits it will bring to the product. While comparing the potential advantages and disadvantages, whether it's included or not. This evaluation helps in assigning value scores to the user stories, typically on a scale of 1 to 10, indicating the user story's importance. Value percent equals value of the story / total value of all the stories, *100. The cost and risk percentage can also be calculated in a similar way based on the ranking of the stories. The below formula can be used to define the priority of each story. Priority equals value percentage * value weight / cost percent * cost weight plus risk percent *. Risk weight. In this formula, value percentage is the value percentage calculated by the value of story. Value weight and cost weight represent the relative importance weights assigned to value and cost respectively. Cost percentage is the cost percentage calculated for the story. Risk percentage is the risk percentage calculated for the story. Risk weight represents the relative importance weight assigned to risk. The format used to capture relative weight variables are as shown on screen. Effort estimation. Effort estimation is an important aspect of any project planning, but we should understand that getting it right at first can be difficult. Estimation is always based on informed guesses and cannot be entirely accurate. The team who directly work on the project can give the most relevant estimation. Others may question these estimates, but since the team will be executing the tasks, they typically have the best understanding of the complexities involved. Too aggressive estimates can be counterproductive. At the same time, underestimation should also be avoided. However, the data proves that the underestimation of tasks has been always more prevalent in the industry and is more dangerous. The difference between Scrum estimation and traditional estimation is that in Scrum we can get the accuracy of estimation sooner after the completion of 1 or 2 sprints, which may be difficult with the traditional approach. The concept of the cone of uncertainty states that the difference between initial estimation and the actual work done tends to decrease as a project progresses through its various phases, including inception, elaboration, and construction. This concept highlights the evolving nature of project estimation and the increasing accuracy that can be achieved as more information becomes available and the project unfolds. Ideal time estimations. Ideal time estimation is the most commonly used technique for estimating the duration of a task. The team involved in performing the actual work provides the estimation of how much time it would take to complete without interruptions or distractions. However, if the team has been assigned multiple tasks simultaneously, the level of distraction will be higher as compared to the team working on a single task. This added distraction can impact the accuracy of the time estimates and make the estimation more challenging. One of the main reasons why estimation is considered challenging is that it's straightforward. To estimate the amount of work required to complete a task, but it's much more complex to predict the amount of distraction. There could be many types of distractions such as interruptions, unexpected issues, or competing priorities which can significantly affect the time it takes to complete the task. Story points. Generally, traditional teams estimate the sprints in terms of time format. But recently many Agile teams have adopted the story points style of estimation. The story points serve as the units of measuring an overall estimate of the backlog. The story point estimates are done with the comparison of story points with other estimates. The story points are relative estimations using the Fibonacci scale 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 20 based on relative sizing. One common technique for estimating story points involves establishing multiple benchmarks and creating relative estimations for user stories, sometimes called triangulation. For instance, you might assign 1 point to small user stories, 5 points to medium-sized user stories, and 13 points to large user stories. When estimating other stories, you compare them to these benchmark stories to determine their relative size. This approach is best as the human mind is considered to be better at making relative comparisons than finding the exact estimation. Using the Fibonacci scale helps in finding the average estimation. Once the average estimation is determined, move to fine-tuning the estimations. Compare story points. Ideal time. Time units are absolute. It is easier to explain ideal time estimates for those who are not part of the team. Estimates will differ across team members. It is easier to estimate the ideal time at the beginning of the project. Helpful in understanding wasted time. Story points. The units are relative. Story points are difficult to explain outside the team. Overlapping estimates. They are completed faster once the benchmarking is done. Affinity estimation technique is used when there is a need to quickly and reliably estimate a large number of user stories parallelly. This method can be useful in situations where a detailed estimation of each user story is not immediately required. Here is the step-by-step breakdown of typical execution of affinity estimation. Prepare story cards. Begin by writing each story on a separate card outlining a brief description of the story. Create a work area. Designate a workspace where for the estimation process it can be a physical board or any digital tool depending on the team's preference. Arrange by size. Arrange the story card in ascending order based on the perceived size or complexity of the story. This step helps in visually categorizing the stories by size. Use buckets. Use buckets to group user stories based on their relative size. You can either use the Fibonacci series or simple t-shirt sizes like extra small, small, medium, large, and extra large. Discuss and refine. As a team, discuss to ensure that stories are categorized appropriately. In case of any disagreement, try to reach to consensus. Estimation completion. Once all the user stories are grouped together into their respective categories, the estimation process is considered to be complete. Planning poker. The planning poker estimation method is a collaborative approach involving the entire team. Here is the step-by-step breakdown of how planning poker typically works. Step 1. Select the team who will be involved in the estimation process and ideally the same team who will be involved in completing the task. Assign each team a number from Fibonacci or any other agreed scale. Step 2. The product owner explains the stories that need to be estimated. Team members can clarify questions they might be having. Step 3. The Scrum Master will request each team member to independently select the task or story that matches their assigned number. This should be done privately without discussing it with other team members. Step 4. The Scrum Master prompts everyone to reveal their estimates simultaneously. This can highlight the variations in estimation among team members, if any. Step 5. In case there is a huge variation, the Scrum Master facilitates meetings to discuss the assumptions. The team discusses the potential assumptions, risks, and issues related to the stories. The team restarts the poker, and the process is repeated until the team reaches a common consensus. More detail about planning poker can be found at www.planningpoker.com. Why planning poker is efficient. The planning poker works efficiently maybe because of various reasons such as team understanding. The team members have a comprehensive understanding of all the user stories and tasks being estimated. Expertise matching. The team members tend to pick the stories as per their expertise and knowledge, leading to accurate estimation. Collaboration. The discussion between the product owner and development team provides a broader perspective on the user stories and ensures alignment with the project goals. Risk identification. The risk and potential issues may be identified initially, allowing better risk management and planning. Velocity and planning. In project management, especially Agile methodology, it's essential to understand the productivity of the team. In Agile, the term velocity is used to describe the productivity of the team. The velocity in Agile is defined as the amount of work a team can complete in a single sprint. The velocity of the team is calculated by summing up the total size of the stories completed during the sprint. Suppose during the sprint there are 5 stories with different sizes such as 2, 3, 8, 20, 13, therefore the velocity will be 46. Knowing the velocity of the team helps in estimating the number of stories that can be completed in the upcoming sprint. In case the team is newly formed, it's common to begin with an initial estimate of velocity and then further refine it according to the performance of the team. Planning onion. Planning in Agile is an iterative and evolutionary process, which happens at several levels, often called planning onion. Each layer of onion represents a different level of planning, starting from big picture to detailed plan. Here are the layers of the planning onion. Vision. At the most outer layer, you have the vision of the product. This is where we define expected product, its benefits to the organization. Roadmap. After vision layer, we have roadmap, where we define the major outcome or milestones of the project. Release. After roadmap layer, at release layer, we focus on planning for specific release of the product. It involves defining what features or improvements will be included in a particular release and how they are aligned with the project goal. Sprint. Moving closer to the core layer, we have sprint planning, in which we break down the work into smaller and manageable sprints. It's about selecting and prioritizing user stories or tasks for a given sprint and planning the work for that time frame. Daily. Finally, at the innermost layer, we have daily planning layer, in which the team will discuss the daily plan in the daily scrum. Release planning and process. Release planning process includes steps as mentioned. Release planning is a critical phase in Agile project management. The release is decided based on many factors like market demand, regulatory needs, customer expectations. The steps involved in the process of planning includes: define the goal of the release, starts with defining the goal of the release based on the business demand. Create stories aligned with the goal. Once the release goal is defined, create user stories aligned with the release goal. The story should represent the features, improvements, or changes to meet the objective of goal. Perform estimation and prioritization of the stories, estimate the effort and complexity of each user story, prioritize the stories based on their importance and impact on achieving the goal. Establish the team's initial velocity, identify the initial velocity of team based on which predict the amount of work that can be completed in a sprint. Assign stories to each sprint, assign the prioritized user stories to individual sprints, which involves selecting which stories will be worked in each sprint. Discuss and determine the number of sprints required to clear the release backlog. This may involve identifying the set of stories that can be assigned to specific iteration. There are a possibility that in later iterations the stories may change due to business needs or observation from the team. A good planning includes answers to the below questions. Is there a buffer kept for sprints? It's important to plan for contingencies by planning for some buffer in case of unexpected challenges or delays. What are the important milestones? Identify the key milestones through release to track the progress and alignment with the release goal. Is it possible to make every sprint releasable? Try to attain shippable increment at the end of each sprint. Can the larger stories be broken into smaller stories? In case of larger stories, consider them breaking into smaller and manageable parts to facilitate easier sprint planning. Are the stories aligned with the release goals? Continuously assess whether the selected stories are aligned to contribute towards achieving the release objectives. The release planning process is a complex process, and it may require multiple iterative discussion between product owner, developers, and other stakeholders. Information radiators in Agile. The information radiators in Agile, as accredited by Alistair Cockburn, one of the countersigners of the Agile Manifesto, are tools meant for displaying the project-related data in visual and understandable chart. Some of the common charts used are: burn-down chart. A burn-down chart is the graphical representation that provides comparison between the amount of work completed versus the amount of planned work over time within a sprint. It helps Agile teams track their progress. The general process of creating burn-down chart would include: sprint estimation. At the beginning of sprint, the team estimates the amount of work, usually in the form of story points, which they plan to complete during the sprint. This forms the basis for their planned work. Daily updates. Throughout the sprint, the team will record the amount of work completed each day. This includes the daily update of burn-down chart to reflect the actual progress made. The remaining work is usually represented by y-axis, while the sprint duration is represented by x-axis. Establish the velocity of team. Over the course of time, when the team completes more and more sprints, the team establishes its velocity. It helps in predicting how much work a team can complete in each sprint. Chart updates. The burn-down chart is updated daily, reflecting the actual progress against the planned work. Burn-up chart. In Agile project management, the burn-up chart is used to measure the progress of project by comparing the complete project backlog with the planned work and actual completed work within the sprint over the time. Components of burn-up chart. Complete project backlog. This represents the entire scope of work or backlog items that needs to be completed for the project, usually represented by y-axis. Planned work. This section of the chart represents the planned work during the project. This is represented by a line that starts at 0 and extends up to total scope of the work. Actual completed work tracks the actual amount of work team has completed. Difference between the burn-down and burn-up chart. In Agile project management, burn-down and burn-up charts, two different tools used to provide two different perspectives on project progress. Below are the few of the key difference between them. Burn-down chart. Focus. A burn-down chart primarily focuses on the remaining work to be completed within a sprint or project. Representation. In burn-down chart, the y-axis represents the amount of remaining work, while the x-axis represents the time, usually in days or sprints. The chart starts with the total work at the top and decreases as the work is completed, creating a line sloping downward from left to right. Purpose. Used to track progress towards the goal of completing all planned within the defined time frame. Transparency. The burn-down chart provides transparency into whether the team is ahead or behind of the schedule and help in managing the sprint or project scope to meet deadlines. Burn-up chart. Focus. A burn-up chart primarily focuses on both the planned work and the actual work completed within a sprint of project. Representation. In the burn-up chart, the y-axis represents both the amount of planned work and the amount work completed, while the x-axis represents the time. The chart starts at 0 and shows the increase in both planned and completed work as the project progresses, creating lines sloping down from left to right. Purpose. The burn-up chart is used to create a holistic view of the entire project, including the planned versus achieved work. Transparency. It helps stakeholders see the bigger picture of the project's journey. Burn-down bar charts. Like burn-down line chart, the burn-down bar chart is also used to represent amount of work remaining in the release backlog like burn-down line chart. Both share the same purpose of tracking the progress towards completing the planned work in different visual formats. Some of the important points to be kept in mind while creating the burn-down charts. Work completion. As the work completes during the project or sprint, an equivalent number of points are taken out from the top, reflecting the reduction in stories as they are completed. Work additions. If some work is added in the scope of project, the similar number of points is added to the bottom of the bar, representing the increased workload. Work removal. If any work is removed from the project, the bar will move up by equivalent number of points, acknowledging the workload adjustment. Parking lot charts. In the larger projects, especially those following feature-driven development (FDD) approach, the number of user stories are high, making it challenging to manage and communicate their status effectively. In the FDD approach, parking lot diagrams are used for summarizing the progress of the project. The FDD method divides the project in the form of the user visible features. It uses boxes to relate the various levels of product backlogs and different colors to display the status of the backlog. Here's how parking lot chart works in FDD. Dividing the project into user visible features. The FDD divides the project into user visible features. The features represent high-level capability and value addition to the end user. Using boxes to represent product backlogs, in the parking lot chart, each feature is represented by a rectangular box containing the related items in the product backlog. Different colors for the status display. To visually convey the status of each feature or item in the product backlog, different colors are used, typically representing the various stages of. Green represents that the feature has been successfully completed and implemented. Yellow indicates the features which are in progress. Red flags the features which are behind the schedule. White represents the features which are planned but not started. Tracking progress. As the project progresses, the parking lot chart is updated to reflect the status of each feature. Communication and visualization. The parking lot charts provide visual summary of feature development progress, highlighting the features which are on track, behind the schedule, or completed successfully. Scrum board. A Scrum board, often considered as the simplest form of Kanban board, is used for tracking the progress of sprint in Agile project management. It provides a clear and real-time status of user stories during the project. Here is how the basic Scrum board works. 3 sections: to do, doing, and done. A Scrum board is typically divided into 3 main sections. To do, it contains user stories and tasks that are part of the sprint backlog but have not been initiated. Doing, in this section, we place items that are currently being worked on by the development team, considered as in progress. Done, the done section contains items that have been completed and satisfies the criteria of definition of done. These are typically ready for review, testing, and release. User stories on notes. Each user story or task is usually represented on a separate note or card. These notes are used to write down the details of the work, to track and manage individual items effectively. Customizable sections. While the basic Scrum board is created using 3 sections, but it can be customized based on specific project requirements. For example, sections like Under Review, Product Backlog, Sprint Backlog can be added to meet specific requirements. How the Scrum board works. During the sprint planning, the team will select the user stories from the product backlog and moves them to the to-do section. When the team starts working on the items, they start moving them from to-do to doing section. When the team completes the task, it is moved to done section, specifying that it's ready for review and integration. Benefits of Scrum board. Visualization. The Scrum board gives a visual representation of status of work items or user stories. It helps stakeholders easily understand which tasks are in progress, what has been completed, and what is still required to be done. Transparency. It gives a sense of transparency within the team, ensuring that everyone has clear view of the project's status, and any bottleneck can be identified proactively. Focus. It helps team to focus on the work and ensures the team does not pick excess amount of work, which may lead to exhaustion and loss of motivation, ultimately impacting the performance of team. Impediment log. Impediment are risks or obstacles to project. In Scrum they are called as blockers also. Impediment log is a valuable tool for identifying, tracking, and addressing obstacles, issues, or risks that can potentially hinder the progress of a project. Impediments can impact the team's velocity and their ability to meet sprint goals. Here's how an impediment log works. Identification of impediments. During the daily Scrum meeting, team members, including the Scrum Master, discuss the progress of work. If any team member identifies an issue or obstacle that is preventing them from making progress on a task or user story, it is considered an impediment. Recording impediments. The Scrum Master is responsible for recording identified impediments in the impediment log. This log can be a physical or digital document where impediments are documented in a structured manner. It typically includes details such as the nature of the impediment, who identified it, its impact on the sprint, and the date it was raised. Rectification plan. For each identified impediment, a rectification plan or action items are outlined. This plan may involve assigning responsibility for resolving the impediment, setting a target date for resolution, and describing the steps needed to address it. Tracking progress. The Scrum Master and the team regularly review the impediment log to track the progress of addressing impediments. During the sprint, they assess whether the impediments have been resolved and if any new impediments have arisen. Resolution during daily Scrum. The daily Scrum meeting serves as a platform for discussing impediments and potential solutions. Team members collaborate to find ways to remove obstacles quickly. The Scrum Master facilitates these discussions and ensures that impediments are not deferred to other meetings but are addressed promptly. Sprint retrospective. The impediment log is also reviewed during the sprint retrospective, which occurs at the end of the sprint. This retrospective meeting provides an opportunity to discuss impediments that arose during the sprint and to identify actions that can prevent similar issues in the future. Continuous improvement. The impediment log contributes to the team's continuous improvement efforts. It helps the team learn from past impediments, refine their processes, and become more effective in handling obstacles. Cumulative flow diagram. The cumulative flow diagram tracks the progress of sprints from plan to complete, such as user stories or tasks, over time. It provides insights into how work flows through different states or stages, helping teams and stakeholders monitor the efficiency of their processes and identify potential bottlenecks or areas for improvement. The change in state is indicated by different colors and the relative width of colors indicating the amount of work in the respective state. Here's how a cumulative flow diagram works. Components of a CFD. States or stages. A CFD typically represents the workflow of work items as they progress through various states or stages. These states can include to do, in progress, testing, done, and any other stages relevant to the project's workflow. Colors: each state or stage is represented by a different color in the CFD. Changes in state are indicated by transitions between colors. Time period: the x-axis of the CFD represents time, often measured in days or sprints. It shows the duration of the project, or the period being analyzed. Quantity of work: the y-axis represents the quantity of work items or the cumulative count of work items in each state. Key characteristics of a CFD. Work in progress, WIP. The width of each color band on the CFD corresponds to the number of work items in that state at a given point in time. A wider band indicates a larger number of work items in that state. Flow patterns: by observing the flow of work items on the CFD, teams can identify patterns and trends. For example, they can see if work items tend to get stuck in a particular state or if they flow smoothly from one state to the next. Bottlenecks: areas where the color bands widen or accumulate may indicate bottlenecks in the workflow. These are stages where work items are taking longer to complete, potentially slowing down the overall progress of the project. Cycle time analysis. CFDs can be used to analyze the cycle time, which is the time it takes for a work item to move from one state to another. Teams can track how long it takes for work items to transition from to do to done, and helping to identify areas for optimization. Predictive insights: CFDs can provide insights into the project's future progress. For example, by analyzing historical data, teams can estimate when the project is likely to be completed based on the current rate of work item completion. Benefits of a cumulative flow diagram. Visualization: CFDs provide a clear visual representation of work item progress, making it easier for teams and stakeholders to understand the project's status. Process improvement: teams can use CFDs to identify process bottlenecks and make data-driven decisions to improve their workflows. Early issue detection: by monitoring the CFD, teams can detect issues or delays in real time and take corrective actions promptly. Predictability: CFDs help teams make more accurate predictions about project completion dates based on historical data. Nico Calendar. The Nico Calendar is a unique and innovative tool used in Agile and Scrum teams to gauge the emotional state and well-being of team members. It encourages open communication, reflection, and can be a powerful motivator for team dynamics and determination. Here's how the Nico Calendar works. Daily reflection: at the end of each workday, team members are asked to reflect on their emotional state and workload for the day. Emoticons/smileys: instead of using names, team members use emoticons or smileys to represent their state of mind. These emoticons can range from happy faces to neutral or sad faces, indicating their emotional state. Privacy protection: to protect privacy and anonymity, team members are assigned numbers or other identifiers instead of using their names. This ensures that team members can express themselves honestly without fear of judgment. Metrics monitoring: the Nico Calendar helps in monitoring key emotional metrics within the team. These metrics can include team morale, stress levels, and overall well-being. Focused metrics: it's important to focus on a select set of metrics that are directly related to the success of the project. Tracking too many metrics can be overwhelming and may not provide actionable insights. Instead, the emphasis is on trends and patterns rather than specific values. Benefits of the Nico Calendar. Team morale: it provides a simple and effective way to gauge team morale and emotional well-being. Team members can quickly see how their colleagues are feeling. Motivation: the Nico Calendar can serve as a motivator. When team members see positive emoticons and a generally upbeat atmosphere, it can boost their determination and morale. Early issue detection: if there are consistent patterns of negative emotions, it may indicate underlying issues or bottlenecks in the project. Early detection allows for proactive problem solving. Team building: it encourages open communication within the team. Team members can discuss their feelings and workload, fostering a sense of camaraderie and support. Trend analysis. By focusing on trends and patterns over time, the team can make data-driven decisions to improve their work environment and processes. Other frameworks relative to Agile. Understanding various Agile frameworks and methods, apart from Scrum, can help customize your Agile approach to the specific requirement of the project. There are many processes and frameworks which overlap with Agile framework. There is an obvious correlation between the Lean, Kanban, and other Agile methods as shown below. As in the picture, we can see the Agile and Kanban methods are derived from Lean thinking. The primary difference between the Agile and method are that the Agile method is based on the incremental and iterative approach, whereas the Lean or Kanban methods are independent of the life cycle model. Here is the brief overview of some of the other frameworks. Agile frameworks. Agile is a method term that contains several frameworks and methodologies, including Scrum, Kanban, Lean, Extreme Programming, XP, and more. These frameworks share the Agile values and principles outlined in the Agile Manifesto but offer different processes and practices for implementing them. Lean thinking. Lean principles focus on delivering value while minimizing waste. Lean thinking has a significant influence on Agile methodologies, particularly in terms of waste reduction, continuous improvement, and customer centricity. Lean principles, derived from manufacturing industries but have been adapted for use in software development and other knowledge work. Kanban. Kanban is a visual management system that helps teams track and manage work. It is often used in combination with other Agile methodologies. Kanban's primary focus is on visualizing work, managing flow, and reducing the work in progress items. It is highly adaptable and can be applied to various workflows and industries. Incremental and iterative approach. Agile frameworks, including Scrum, are known for their incremental and iterative approach. Work is broken down into smaller increments, and development occurs in short iterations, such as sprints in Scrum. This approach allows for regular feedback, adaptation, and frequent delivery of valuable features. Life cycle models. Agile methodologies can be applied to different life cycle models, including iterative, incremental, adaptive, and even traditional models. Unlike some traditional approaches, Agile methods are flexible and adaptable, which allows teams to choose the life cycle model that best suits their project. Key points. Agile consists of multiple frameworks, and each framework offers a unique approach to achieve Agile principles and values. Lean principles primarily focus on waste reduction and continuous improvement. Kanban is often used alongside other Agile methods to visualize work and reduce the items in work in progress bucket. Agile is characterized by its incremental and iterative approach to development, adaptable to various life cycle models, allowing teams to select the most suitable model for their projects. Extreme Programming Method. One of the most prevalent and popular practice in Agile methods is known as Extreme Programming, XP, proposed by Kent Beck. It has been designed to deliver high-quality software products in less time, focusing on collaboration with customers to work together and achieve a common goal. The XP is well suited when the software requirements are changing frequently. Small development team and are co-located. The technology used allows for automated and functional tests. Some of the key principles within the XP are: the planning game. The uses a collaborative approach to where the customer and development team work together to decide and set priorities for the project. Small releases. XP promotes frequent and small releases to deliver incremental value to the product and to gather early feedback from customers. Metaphor. A metaphor is a shared understanding of the system works. It provides a common vocabulary for the team to communicate effectively within the team. Simple design. The XP framework emphasis on simple and flexible design, which is easy to adapt changes and extend as per the project requirement. Testing. XP promotes automated unit test, functional test, and acceptance test at each increment to catch early defect. Refactoring. XP promotes ongoing code refactoring to improve code quality and maintainability. Pair programming. The developers work in pairs to write code collaboratively, which leads to better code quality, knowledge sharing reduce defects. Collective ownership, all team members are responsible for the codebase, which promotes collaboration, code review, and collective decision-making. Continuous integration, XP framework suggests that code changes are integrated frequently and tested to ensure that the software remains in working state. For zero-hour workweek, XP advocates a sustainable pace of work, with a 40-hour workweek, to maintain developer motivation and productivity. On-site customer, daily interaction with customers is an essential part of XP framework to ensure that the product goals aligns with the customer needs and expectations. Coding standard, XP promotes consistent coding standards and practices to ensure code quality and readability. The practices in XP are complementary to each other. For example, pair programming can aid collective code ownership and refactoring. The test-driven development states that we cannot develop anything until the test for the same is developed, which allows the testing at more granular level and product is tested while it's in build phase, which helps in the early detection of bugs or risks. The XP framework recommends continuous integration, alteration, and deployment in parallel, which means even a smaller change is submitted as soon as it's ready. Each change will trigger the build of the product, which is then integrated and tested using automated test suites. The XP framework focuses on the on-site customer existence for closer interaction on a daily basis. The practice of gathering in the form of user stories originated from XP. XP also recommends collective coding ownership, which avoids a single person from being responsible for any change in the code. XP emphasizes maintaining a motivated and energetic team by working at a reasonable pace, promoting a 40-hour workweek, and keeping the work environment updated through regular communication with stakeholders. The XP framework has been influential in shaping the Agile landscape and remains a popular approach for software development. XP team roles. The XP strongly emphasizes on team collaboration and self-organization. The XP team typically consists of customers, programmers, and testers sizing between 5 to 20. In XP, the team is expected to be self-organizing, cross-functional, and independent in terms of that they should be able to execute the complete functionality without depending on anyone else outside the team. The XP team also suggests active participation of customers during the development process. They may include customers. Customers play a central role in XP by providing a clear understanding of the project's goals and requirements. They are expected to actively participate in the development process. Key customer roles may include product manager, responsible for creating the product roadmap and setting the strategic direction for the product. Business domain experts provide expertise in the specific business domain, ensuring that the software aligns with business needs. Interaction designers focus on user interface and user experience design, ensuring that the software is user-friendly and efficient. Business analysts analyze business requirements, user needs, and system functionality to guide the development process. Programmers are the individuals responsible for writing code and implementing the software. XP programmers are expected to be versatile and cross-functional. They should be capable of working on a wide range of tasks, from coding to testing and design. The team typically consists of 4 to 10 programmers. Testers. In XP, the testing role is not specialized. Testers are considered part of the development team, and they contribute to various testing activities. While there is no specific ratio, it's recommended to have 1 tester for every 6 developers. Testers collaborate with customers on experimental and user acceptance testing. Crystal is an agile method developed by Alistair Cockburn. The Crystal methodology uses different color codes to represent the size and criticality of any project. This method is based on the team collaboration and communication. Some of the properties of the Crystal methods are frequent delivery, regular product delivery, and the testing to be done by real users. Thoughtful improvement, based on the real user feedback, the product needs to be improved accordingly. Osmotic communication, keeping the team at the same physical location, allows for communication like osmosis. Personal safety, the team should be enabled to discuss ideas and feedback openly without any fear. Focus, a team member should be made aware of what they are expected to do so that each team member stays focused on their work. Easy access to experts, users development team should have a way for regular communication with real users for feedback. Technical tooling team should have access to all the tools related to testing, management, and configuration. Continuous learning, the Crystal framework focuses on continuous learning of the team members so that they can apply the new technologies and techniques they have learned in the project. Teamwork, the framework suggests on the team collaboration, mutual support among the team members for higher productivity. Time boxing, the Crystal framework also follows the sprint time boxing approach to manage the project timelines. Test automation, the Crystal framework focuses on the test automation which help the team in detecting and fixing the bug early. Customer interaction, the framework focuses on involvement of customer during the development phase to get their early feedback and suggestions. Ownership, the Crystal framework suggests that team members should take ownership of their work and are able to take decisions related to their work. The Crystal framework consists of many variants depending on the size of the team. Crystal clear, smaller team size ranging from 1 to 6 members. Crystal yellow, team size ranging from 7 to 20, and the feedback is taken from the real users and includes automated testing. Crystal orange, the team size ranges from 21 to 40, where teams are split into multiple smaller teams based on the product backlogs. Crystal orange web, this team also sizes from 21 to 40, where they work on continuously evolving products and been used by the public. Crystal red, a development team sized between 41 to 80, where teams are divided into smaller based on the need. Crystal maroon, large size team ranging from 81 to 200, and the agile methods are customized as per the requirement. Crystal diamond and sapphire, used in large projects. DSDM, Dynamic Systems Development Method. The DSDM process was first published in 1994, and a revised version named Etern was published in 2007 at Agile Business Consortium. The DSDM was basically formed on the philosophy taken from the sociologist principle of 80%, in which it says 80% of work is enough for the current increment and will facilitate the movement towards the next iteration. The basic philosophy of DSDM can be expressed in the form of below 5 principles. User, to get right business solution or expectation, but from the product aligned to business requirement. Time boxing, though the requirements may evolve due to business needs, but it's always better to fix the timescale. Early delivery of product which could help an early payback of the value spent. 80 to 20 rule. This principle says that 80% of the value of the product can be achieved by delivering 20% of the features of the product. Avoid perfection in first go. This has been proved and realized that nothing can be built perfectly in first go, and trying to achieve perfection in first go might be wasted time. Traditionally, customer fixes features which are required upfront, and the development team will fix the timeline and cost accordingly, while as DSDM the project is time boxed, and the customer prioritizes the features which can be completed within the fixed time box. This allows customers to prioritize the development of the features which add more value to the business. Time boxing in Moscow. The most expected thing from any project is the on-time delivery of the items. In case of delay, the project manager or customer may behave crazy. The best way to deliver on time is the time boxing of the backlogs. Each time box has fixed an end date in which the work items can be kept variable based on the amount of the work to be done. It is always advisable that a time box must be agreed before beginning the work. In DSDM, the time box are prioritized through the Moscow principles of prioritization. The time boxing is a powerful concept if applied well. In Moscow, M stands for mandatory. S should have or desirable. C, could or nice to have. W, won't have. The Moscow helps in organizing the work based on priority. The M should always have top priority followed by S and C. It should always be kept in mind that if any task cannot be completed within the given time box, it should not be mapped to M or S category. One rule should always keep in mind that no more than 50% of the total task can be kept as a must-have and approximately 10 to 20% should be considered as coulds. Lean and value mapping. The lean principle originated from Toyota production system in 1950s. The lean follows the principle of capturing each process in flowchart, which is then mapped to a value stream and then identifying which step adds value and which does not. It follows the principle of removing or reducing the steps which do not add value. There are 7 principles of lean development, and they are as follows. Reduce waste. The first step is to identify waste steps and try to eliminate or reduce them. Knowledge enhancement. This includes learning from experience and experiments, and if any defect is found, we ensure that the same is not repeated again. Decision-making. The decision-making should only be done after considering all other options available regarding any step or activity. Fast delivery. Try to deliver as fast as possible. Team respect. Empower the team to make the decisions as they are the best one to do so. Build integrity. The leadership team should always encourage and build an environment where the team members remain focused and try to deliver the best outcomes. Optimize the whole. Encourage the team to focus on the optimization of the complete value stream. In the start, the value streaming can look instructive, which team can use as the starting point for continuous improvement plan. Forms of waste. As per studies, every process has waste and may go up to 90% of the process. Marian Popandiek has explained the 7 forms of waste in software development in their book Implementing Lean Software Development, From Concept to Cash. They have intelligently mapped the manufacturing waste to software development waste. Manufacturing waste, software waste. Overproduction, extra or non-relevant features. Excess inventory, partially done work. Extra processing, non-valued process. Unnecessary transportation, switching between tasks. Unnecessary movement of people, splitting of task. Wait delay. Defects. Overproduction. The excess production as compared to demand in the manufacturing industry is similar to having extra or non-relevant features in software development. It becomes necessary to access the features if they are really required by the customers. Excess inventory. The excess inventory in the manufacturing industry directly relates to partially done works in software development, as due to this all efforts made are wasted and they do not deliver any value add to the customer. Excess processing. The unnecessary processing in the manufacturing industry is similar to non-valued process in the software development, which defeats the purpose of lean principle of reducing waste. Unnecessary transportation. The unnecessary transportation of goods in manufacturing industries are similar to the team switching between multiple tasks, which can lead to less productivity. Unnecessary movement of people. In the manufacturing industry, the unnecessary movement of people does not have any value to customers. Similarly, in software development, splitting same task between multiple teams also does not add value to customer, as there might be conflict of interest between the teams. Wait. The tasks which are not moving due to any logistic reasons is the waiting waste. For example, waiting for design approval from executives. Defects. The defects needs to be reworked on the same backlog, which leads to the wastage of the team effort. The 5 principles of lean methodologies. Recognize the value. Define the value of the product, which should be answering the questions as below. What is the customer's expectation? What benefit customer will get from the product? What budget customer is willing to spend on the product? The main goal of this step should be to identify any waste, if any, and ways to eliminate it. Planning the value stream. The value is the end goal of a project, so defining the value stream becomes necessary to identify the ways to achieve the value stream. All steps that may be taken to get the end product is part of the value streams. Create workflow. With the value stream planning, project managers can identify the waste. The lean principle of removing waste, and by evaluating the value map, the project managers can create an optimized workflow to avoid repetitive, early, or late tasks. Pull-based approach. Like Kanban, the pull-based approach in Kanban originated from the manufacturing industry, which targets to avoid waste by only producing items which are required to be. To implement the Kanban pull system, the below 6 principles should be followed. Workflows should be visualized. Eliminate waste. Optimize the workflow. Ensure that the process are clear. Promote collaboration among teams. Continuous improvement plan. The lean methodology suggests to always looking for the opportunity for improvement and seeking perfection. The team should inherit the culture of optimization, focused on removing waste, adding value, and the quality of the product. Kanban. The Kanban was invented by Taichi Ono in the Toyota production system. The Kanban system is part of lean thinking, and it is one of the popular frameworks used to implement Agile and DevOps software development. The Kanban uses the flow principles, where the user maintains the minimal inventory and keeps the process flowing all the time. If there is any bottleneck, instead of pushing the works in bottleneck, focus on resolving the bottlenecks, otherwise the tasks will simply get accumulated in the bottleneck, resulting in excess inventory, delay in feedback, and creation of waste. The lean or Kanban works on the principle of pull, where the tasks are pulled from the previous step and keeping some buffer in each step to ensure the continuity. The Kanban system can be created by implementing the below steps. Visualize the workflow using Kanban board. Create flow to reduce the tasks from work in progress bucket. Implement continuous improvement. Kanban board is made up of boxes where each box represents a work item. The work items are aligned as per the status of the item, for example, requested, work in progress, completed, etc. The steps can be modified as per the requirements of the specific project. The Kanban board gives a visual insight of the workflow system and about the cycle time. Kanban terminology. The basic Kanban terminologies are as follows. Customer lead time. It is the time gap between receiving the request and delivering the same. In other words, the amount of time customer has to wait between raising the request and getting the product delivered. As a part of continuous improvement, the team should always focus on reducing the lead time. Cycle time, the time difference between two successive deliveries. If the team delivers 10 items in 5 days, then the cycle time equals items delivered / time taken, which will be 0.5 days, and the throughput would be 2 items per day. Little's Law. Little's Law is the mathematical theory of the probability of the queuing theory. The formula states L equals YW. L, average number of items in the system. Y, average arrival and departure rate of items in the system. W, average time spent on an item. The Little's Law applies to any system which has the queues, and the Kanban method focuses on reducing the items in the work in progress, and the Little's Law helps in formulating a predictable Kanban system by calculating the throughput and cycle time. The Kanban system's formulas used to measure the efficiency of process. WIP equals throughput x lead time. Throughput equals WIP/lead time. Lead time equals WIP/throughput. Agile versus lean or Kanban. Agile, lean or Kanban. Majorly used in product development and operations. Focus on feedback and improvement. Focus on speed by reducing the waste. Time-boxed sprints, iterative and cycle-based. Originated in software industry, originated in manufacturing industry. Changes in organizational structure, no major organizational changes. Agile in large and complex projects. Large projects require managing multiple Agile teams and careful consideration for choosing the best scaling framework for the project. Initially, Agile was used in the smaller teams, and handling large projects was a challenge. The early Agile methodologies were suitable only for smaller teams. This never meant that Agile processes can never work on large enterprise-scale projects. The only thing is that these methodologies should adapt to scale. Though the larger projects have complexity and distributed team, the incremental and iterative development policies will still be valuable for them. Common challenges in large project. Need bigger team. The motivated team of 1 to 10 members may not be sufficient to accomplish the project. It may be required to work on multiple team members. Large product backlogs. The bigger projects will have huge backlogs, so multiple product owners will be required to manage the backlogs. Achieving continuous integration. In the larger projects, the work is distributed across multiple teams, and achieving continuous integration as there might be multiple dependencies at team or technical level. Specialization. Bigger teams may have greater requirements for the specialized team for specific domains. Planning. Larger teams may have lots of dependencies among themselves. Planning ahead of time helps in avoiding bottlenecks. Adopting changes. Changes in scope of work may slow down the velocity of a team, as it may require multiple teams' consent for feasibility. Non-functional requirements. The large-scale projects, the non-functional requirements cannot be avoided. Large-scale projects requires careful efforts and organization-oriented thinking. Backlog management in large-scale projects. In the large project, the backlog management is a difficult task. Below are the best practice to handle such situations. Size of backlog. Large projects can have too many backlogs. Each backlog may have thousands of stories due to their size. As a thumb rule suggested by Mike Cohn, that any PBI should not have more than 150 user stories at a time, rather add more details to the stories than a single liner. Epics and themes. For ease of management, use epics and themes to categorize the stories. The stories can be prioritized and monitored at the epic level. PO per Scrum team. The management of backlog for large projects can be challenging for a single product owner. For the larger number of teams working in parallel, needs a hierarchical team of product owners who can be spearheaded by product line owners who can monitor all product lines of the same product. The key principle is that the backlog of each product should be kept at one place. There should be one backlog per product. Multiple teams can work on the same backlog using different epic or themes. Large products require many product owners. In such case, the product owners should be working as a single team. Scrum of Scrums, SOS. The Scrum of Scrums is useful in the larger project where multiple Scrum teams work independently on their product backlogs. There should be regular meetings held where the representative of each Scrum participates to discuss their progress, dependencies, and challenges. The representative can be the respective team Scrum Master, but it is preferable to have someone from the development team, as some of the discussion may require technical discussion. The team can create a spared backlog to be discussed during these meetings, and the representative is expected to update the other team about the discussions and updates from SOS meetings. The main purpose of the meeting is to ensure coordination and visibility across all the teams and collaborate and solve common problems. The SOS should be either planned for a very short duration or on an as-need basis. Large project planning best practices. Planning for large projects in Agile can be challenging due to the size and complexity of the project. Following some best practices can help to overcome this challenge. Break down the project. Split the project into smaller, manageable backlogs. Common estimation. Use common estimation method across the team helps in consistency, comparability, forecasting and resource allocation across multiple teams. Release kickoff meeting. It helps the team to understand the goal and vision of the release. Teams can clarify their queries, and it provides a forum for team to communicate and collaborate, identifying risk and mitigation plan. Horizon planning. The large projects management requires to look ahead of current sprints to anticipate future works. It also helps in early identification of dependency with other teams. The horizon planning aims to get an idea about what is going to happen next. Feeding buffers. The concept of feeding buffers in Agile was incorporated from the critical chain management project method, which suggest reserving some free time between two successive sprints for unforeseen reasons, which eliminates the risk of cascading delays. Integration teams. In the large project, the integration team plays a critical role of ensuring that the sprints of multiple Scrum teams work together to create a functional product. This team is responsible for frequent integration, testing, and fixing bugs. Scaling frameworks in Agile. The Agile scaling frameworks methodologies are developed so that they can be implemented across large projects. These frameworks provides the guidelines and best practices to ensure that Agile practices are maintained as expected across the stakeholders. SAFe, Scaled Agile Framework. SAFe is a widely adopted Agile scaling framework. The SAFe framework focuses on project delivery across large teams. The SAFe framework has 4 scaling levels: Essential SAFe, Large Solution SAFe, Portfolio SAFe, Full SAFe. SAFe combines incremental and iterative methods of working along with Lean and Kanban to create a robust process to sustain large and complex projects. The SAFe core principles and values. The core values of the SAFe framework explains the philosophy that leadership team should follow. Orientation. The leadership team should ensure that everyone in the team is aware of the business requirements and goals and should also have clear workflow decided for everyone to achieve the goal. The information should be shared in both upward and downward direction as compared to traditional way of top-to-down direction. Quality. The SAFe Agile framework should always target the quality of the work. The definition of done shall be defined clearly for each product backlog item. SAFe framework defines 5 major key performance indicators to measure the quality of task. 1. Flow of work. 2. Quality of architecture and design. 3. Code quality. 4. System quality. 5. Release quality. Clarity. Within the SAFe framework, the team should ensure the trust relationship. The planning and backlogs should be worked in small batches so that any unforeseen issues can be proactively identified. The estimation and progress of backlogs should be updated in real time. Execution. The SAFe framework should focus on execution of the task. The team should focus on regular delivery of quality products aligned to the business requirements. Leadership. The leaders should create a suitable environment to adopt SAFe core values as general practice. SAFe principles. The SAFe principles are envisioned to improve the performance of the organization by adopting lean agile processes. These principles should not only be followed by the leaders or managers, but rather the whole team should adopt the lean agile principles as compared to traditional waterfall method. Principle 1. Economic view. Everyone in team should understand the importance of sustainable lead time. Everyone in the team should take part in the decision-making process, estimation, and the impact of financial delays on the project. This principle is inspired from the book Theories on Product Development by Donald Reinertsen. Principle 2. System thinking. In the large projects, the SAFe framework suggested that each team should have high-level idea about how each part, process, and systems work together to form the bigger product. The workflow should be focused on removing silos and a cross-functional team. Principle 3. Changeability. Sometimes designing a large project or systems can be uncertain due to the complexity. To handle such situations, SAFe framework suggests for the set-based design which accommodates multiple requirements and design options for longer period. The set-based design is based on empirical data so that the end product is aligned with the business requirements. Principle 4. Fast delivery and incremental build. Fast delivery and incremental build has always been one of the core principles of all of the Agile methods. This helps in identifying any unforeseen issues and getting early feedback from end users. Principle 5. Milestones. The milestones should be based on the actual working system rather than on the requirement document. There should be a clear definition of done. Principle 6. Track, update, and reduce the WIP. All the Agile methodologies focus on limiting the work in progress, overlapping work, total amount of work to be done together. Perform the work in small chunks so that the validation of work can be done early and get feedback from end customers. Principle 7, Transparency and Cross-Domain Planning. The sprint's planning helps define the flow of work. The cross-functional team shall be included to understand the dependency and feasibility from their perspective also. Principle 8, Keep the team motivated. Always keep the team motivated, as even a small duration of demotivated team can lead to productivity loss. Principle 9, Enable team for taking decisions. Leader can keep the decision-making authority for the strategic business-related works, but enabling team to take decision for the items under their control creates an atmosphere of ownership among the team, and it will also reduce the wait time. More details at scaliagile.com. Large-scale Scrum, LESS. LESS, or Large-Scale Scrum, is an agile scaling framework designed for handling large projects with multiple teams. It combines lean and system thinking principles to guide organizations in scaling agile practices effectively. LESS is based on the Scrum framework and emphasizes simplicity, transparency, and delivering value to customers. Here are the key principles and components of LESS. The main principles of the LESS are: transparency. LESS promotes transparency at all levels of the organization, ensuring that everyone has access to the same information. More with less. LESS focuses on simplifying processes and structures to achieve more with fewer resources. It encourages eliminating unnecessary complexity and waste. Focus on complete product. The primary goal in LESS is to deliver a complete product that provides value to customers as compared to traditional project-based thinking and encourages feature-based thinking. Continuous improvement. LESS promotes a culture of continuous improvement, where teams regularly inspect and adapt their processes, products, and practices to achieve better results. Lean thinking. LESS incorporates lean and system thinking principles to optimize value delivery, reduce waste, and ensure a holistic view of the system. System thinking. LESS incorporates lean and system thinking principles to optimize value delivery, reduce waste, and ensure a holistic view of the system. Empirical process. LESS follows an empirical process control approach, meaning that decisions are based on observed outcomes and feedback. Queuing theory. LESS leverages queuing theory to manage the flow of work, optimize resource allocation, and reduce bottlenecks. Customer-centric. The customer is at the center of LESS practices. Teams focus on delivering value that aligns with customer needs and expectations. LESS framework offers two configurations. Basic LESS, designed for 2 to 8 teams, with a total of 10 to 50 team members. It is recommended to start with basic LESS before considering LESS Huge. The LESS framework suggests 2 approaches to adopt Huge LESS. 1 requirement area at a time. Try to complete the requirement area within the larger product. Slowly expand the scope of work and define the product and done criteria. The basic LESS focuses on the key Scrum roles as below: Scrum Product Owner, Scrum Development Team, Scrum Master. Additionally, LESS introduces the role of a manager who helps the team handle impediments and supports continuous improvement. There's also an area product owner who facilitates and acts as a bridge between all product owners and the technical teams, working toward achieving the product goal. The LESS framework introduces PBR, Product Backlog Refinement, meeting. The PBR meetings expands the sprint planning to the area of focus by parallel LESS sprints. The main activities involved in the PBR are: breakdown of big items, clarification of the outstanding questions, estimation of stories, risk and dependencies identification and mitigation. Along with sprint planning, the sprint review and retrospection is also essential in LESS method to verify the quality of delivery, discuss challenges, identify areas of improvements, and new things. Benefits of LESS framework. The objective of LESS framework was to create a method to implement Scrum to various teams working together for same product delivery. Few of the benefits of using LESS are: easy to implement as teams are already working in the Scrum. Single product owner having end-to-end visibility of business requirement. Only required team members are involved and any overhead is avoided. Complete product vision within the different areas of focus. Direct communication between the development team and business stakeholders. Continuous improvement through frequent retrospective. More details at https://less.works/less/framework/Scrum Master. Scrum at scale. The Scrum Framework was created with the purpose of creating a mechanism of delivering complex products by a single team. With extension of usage of Scrum, it became necessary for Framework to support multiple teams working together to build a single product. The Scrum at Scale proposed by Jeff Sutherland outlines the approach to manage multiple teams working on the same product goal and deliver quality product. In Scrum at Scale, the organization focuses on the natural extension of the Scrum methods to multiple teams where the managerial roles are limited to minimum viable bureaucracy, MVB. A minimum viable bureaucracy is the process of having the least possible involvement of the managerial or the governing process without compromising to the value of service or product. It helps by reducing the amount of time lost due to decision-making process. Components of Scrum at Scale. Value-driven culture. Start with the least required and scale as you grow. Implement process to target maximum flow of work done, highly motivated team, and early customer feedback. Blend Scrum of Scrum, SOS, process together. Scale the roles of teams and events. Disciplined Agile. Disciplined Agile is a toolkit to identify the process which is best suited for your organization. It provides you the freedom choice to choose the processes. The Disciplined Agile suggests exploring the goal and processes which are specific and necessary for your specific business requirement. The Disciplined Agile focuses on the below 4 views. Mindset: design a combined framework of lean and agile to support large project. People: define roles, responsibility and team structure aligned with business goals. Flow: describe processes and workflows to deliver faster and achieve high value stream. Practices: aim for clear goal, common estimation, and prioritization process. The Disciplined Agile approach. The Disciplined Agile mindset is documented in the Form 3 aspects. Principles: delight customers: always try to satisfy customers by delivering higher value than their expectations to delight them. Be awesome: aim to be the best awesome team, as customers always wants to work with awesome teams. Context counts: within the team everyone plays a unique role within the organization and should evolve over time. Be pragmatic: be open to adopt agile, lean, and traditional strategies to create a customized framework according to your specific need. The choice is good: open to choose best fit technique given to the specific situation. Optimize flow: optimize the workflow across the value stream. Organize around products/services: organize yourself to deliver high-value products, services, and offerings to delight customers. Enterprise awareness: the disciplined agilist aims to deliver beyond the need of team and look for the larger picture of the organization. Promises: develop psychological security and embrace diversity. The psychological security means that each team member should feel safe while embracing openness and diversity in providing suggestions or feedback, as each team member is unique and can have diverse sociological, religious, political, or ideological beliefs. Accelerate value realization: in Disciplined Agile, the term value is referred to both customer and business value. It should be architected in such a way that it has potential to improve consistency, quality, reliability, and reduce the operational cost over the time. Proactive collaboration: the disciplined agilist should focus on adding value as a whole, not on individual work. Instead of waiting for someone to ask passively, volunteer proactively. Visualize work and workflow: in disciplined agile teams will visualize the work of both individual and teams to understand how they are performing. The main focus is on the work in progress queue and efforts to reduce them. Try to achieve maximum predictability: the disciplined agile team always works towards improving the predictability of works, so that the commitments are delivered on time made to the stakeholders. All previous commitment deliveries timelines are referenced for improving the accuracy of the predictability. Do not overload team: overloading of team is never recommended as leads to frustration among both individual and team. Some team members feel motivated to work harder during such times, but it may cause burnout in the long term. Implement continuous improvement. Any successful organization adopts the continuous improvement principles, always looking towards improving process, results, and organizational structures. Guidelines. Validate learnings. Becoming awesome always requires experimenting and adapting to processes which are more suitable for the situation. In the disciplined Agile, the team experiments with the new way of working and then they assess the performance of it. This approach is sometimes called as validated learning. Apply design thinking. Design thinking refers to understanding customer requirements, their environment, before developing any solution. Then the team aims to create an operational value stream keeping customer delight in mind. Build relationships through value streams. In disciplined Agile, it is important to build relationships between different value stream teams to have granular visibility of marketplace, competitors, and their strategies. Create a supportive environment. As disciplined Agile suggests being awesome, so creating a joyful and motivated environment is main part of it. If it is done correctly, the work becomes an enjoyable game. Aim to improve culture. The work culture of any organization is dependent on the management team, and it reflects same from top to down. So to implement Agile transformation within the organization, it needs to be adopted by the whole organization. Build semi-autonomous and self-organizing teams. In large projects, there cannot be a team which can be an island by themselves. There will always be dependencies of works either upstream to another team or downstream by our team. The disciplined Agile recommends having free-flow collaboration across all the teams and prioritize to resolve any dependency which may impact the velocity of other team. Adopt measures that aim to enhance outcomes. The measure of outcome can be different across different teams. Development team may target to achieve quality of product, whereas business team may target for time to market. The disciplined Agile recommends keeping flexible measurement criteria across all the team and to keep them evolving over time, situations, and priorities. Develop and enhance organizational capabilities. Any organization has many assets like systems, assets, tools, processes, and knowledge base. Apart from utilizing them effectively, the disciplined Agile recommends always exploring the ideas of improving them so that they can be better used by all teams. Nexus Scaling Framework. Ken Schwaber and Scrum Foundation jointly developed the Nexus Framework. The Nexus Framework is built on the Scrum principles. It extends them only when it's necessary. Nexus has a single product owner and a group of 3 to 9 Scrum teams working together for common product goals. The main goal of Nexus is to scale the foundational principle of Scrum to a group of Scrum teams to deliver a product which cannot be built by a single team. Nexus extends the Scrum principles in following ways. Accountabilities. The Nexus integration team consists of product owner, Scrum Master, and Nexus integration team. The integration team ensures that the team delivers a valuable and useful product increment every sprint. The roles of integration team are as below. Product owner. Nexus has a single product backlog and single product manager who is responsible for the value of product, work of teams, and integration of work done to product incrementally. Scrum Master. The role of Scrum Master in Nexus Framework is to ensure that principles of extension of Scrum is implemented as described in Nexus Guide. Nexus Integration Team. The Nexus Integration Team is also a Scrum team who focuses on adopting the tools and practices which improves the ability of team to deliver valuable and integrated increment frequently. Events. Any event in sprint should include the efforts of both team or individuals, whether it's an amendment, addition, or replacement in the product. The Nexus events consists of the sprint. The Nexus sprint is similar to Scrum sprint targeting to produce a single integrated increment. Cross-team refinement. The cross-team refinement of product backlog aims to reduce and identify dependencies across teams. The product backlogs are broken in smaller sprints so that the dependencies are transparent, identified across teams, removed, and minimized. The product backlogs undergoes multiple breakdown until Scrum team can complete the work into single integrated and incremental sprint. The cross-team refinement of product backlog also helps in identifying below. Product backlog item estimation identifies dependencies across team. Nexus sprint planning. The Nexus sprint planning consists of representatives from Scrum team and product owner to coordinate activities of all the Scrum teams combined as single Nexus sprint. The main purpose of Nexus sprint are: alignment of sprints to the product goal, defining sprint goal for each team, creating single Nexus sprint backlog representing the worklog of Nexus team and making the interdependencies transparent, creating a sprint backlog for each team aligned with a single product backlog. Nexus sprint review, planned at the end of every sprint to provide feedback, accommodate future changes if required, updating product backlog to reflect the changes. The Nexus sprint review focuses on the review of the integrated increment and capturing feedback from stakeholders. Nexus sprint retrospective. The purpose of Nexus retrospective is to identify the steps or processes to improve the quality of product and effectiveness of whole Nexus. The Nexus inspects how the last Nexus sprint performed with respect to team members, processes, tools, and review the definition of done. Artifacts. A Nexus sprint has been designed to be built with transparency, as there will be a single product backlog across multiple teams with the details of teams who will be working on the which product backlog. The main artifacts of the respective events are mentioned below. Product backlog. In the Nexus, there is a single product backlog for the entire Nexus and Scrum teams. The product backlog should be broken up to the level where interdependencies between the Scrum teams are identified and minimized. The product owner is responsible for the task. Commitment. The commitment of the product backlog is the long-term goal of product goal. Nexus sprint backlog. The Nexus sprint backlog is the combination of Nexus sprint goal and product backlog items of individual Scrum teams highlighting the dependencies, flow of work during the sprint and the learnings. Commitment. The commitment of Nexus sprint backlog is Nexus sprint goal. The Nexus sprint goal is the sum of all the work and sprint goal of the Nexus. The Scrum teams work together to achieve the sprint goal. Integrated increment. The integrated increment is the sum of all the work completed up to now with respect to product goal. The integrated increment must meet the definition of done. Commitment. The commitment of integrated increment is the definition of done. The Nexus integration team will be responsible for integrations, measuring the quality, ensures that the increment should have value add and product is usable.